Hey everyone, I'm here. I didn't realize what time it was, so I'm a little bit late to the party here. Hey Sherry, sorry, I was busy texting somebody for work. Uh, I'm a little bit late today. I um I lost track of time. I was watching the Ravens' disaster of a game, and after it was over, I was on Facebook and all of the football groups discussing it with people, and I completely lost track of time. I looked up and saw it was after 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh no, I got to go live. And so I never set up all of the green screen. I didn't have all of my good cameras set up and everywhere. So it's kind of going back to the old format here of just the overhead view tonight. I had honestly forgotten that I was supposed to go live tonight, to be honest with you, after all of that, until I saw it. I don't even know where all my stuff is at here. Let's see. I've got this. Oh, there's the rest of it. It's laying on top of my... grab my glasses. I'm going to need to put those on. Can move an empty vape bottle out of the way. Move this up here closer. Oops. Knock the camera around while I'm at it. Yeah. There we go. There. Let's see. That still doesn't look right. Does that look crooked to you? Yeah, that looks crooked to me. But really it isn't. Yes, it is. There. Okay. Well, I did care about who's going to win that game, but not anymore. That game was stolen earlier. That was completely bogus. It was stolen. All because of Taylor Swift. The Ravens got beat by a skinny, blonde-headed singer who writes whiny songs about her boyfriends. And I will stick to that to the day I die. Because the NFL cannot stand to not see her be present for the big game, the Super Bowl, because her dating the Chiefs player allows them to sell advertising space during the commercial breaks for a lot more money because they're getting a lot higher ratings because her fans that otherwise would not watch football are watching just so they can see a glimpse of her for 5 seconds every time her boyfriend catches a ball. And so it's driving the ratings up artificially, and it's allowing them to sell advertising space for a lot more. And when advertising space for the Super Bowl is already going into the 10s, 20s, or 30 millions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars for a 30-second ad spot, depending on what part of the game it's in, it could literally cost them billions if they don't, of extra money that they wouldn't bring in otherwise if the Chiefs weren't in the Super Bowl. So really the Ravens were going into it without a shot, even though Vegas had them as the favorites, and they did play good enough to win. I mean, they made some mistakes on their side, but they played good enough to win. It's just that every time they did something good, either the other team did something wrong, but didn't get penalized for it, which benefited the other team, and cost us what we would have gained from it. And I think that's just wrong. You just cannot convince me that that game was not fixed. Oh, hell no, Cats Gallery. No. Never have been. And the fact that she's coming in and ruining the NFL just by sitting in the stands to watch her boyfriend play is even worse. Hey, Dreamer. Yeah, before today, I would have laughed in the face of all the people that were saying, "Oh, the NFL is scripted. Oh, it's all scripted. It's all, they want certain teams to win," and that. I would have laughed in your face about that until today and watching today and seeing what happened and just thinking, if this had just been a normal game during the season, it would have been completely different. But the fact that if the Ravens had won, then all of that ad revenue that would have been generated by Taylor Swift's fans being in the stands or Taylor Swift's fans watching on TV wouldn't be there. And so they had to do something to make sure the Chiefs made it into the big game. I will fully agree with that one. Well, yeah, it's really bad when I'm sitting here on my phone and I have a news app, and I actually have it set to send me breaking football news, NFL news, Alabama football news, whatever, right? I get a pop-up that says breaking NFL news. So I open it up, and it's some news story that some Taylor Swift fan saw Taylor and Travis Kelce walking into a restaurant holding hands and caught it on video. How is that breaking NFL news? I don't get it. Let's see, Dreamer. What made me think it was fixed? Well, to begin with, before the game, our kicker was out there warming up, and Chiefs players came over and threw his gear off the field while he was warming up. And then during the game, Taylor Swift's boyfriend is in everybody's face trying to incite fights and instigate fights and everything else. But then one of our players makes a spectacular catch, jumps up afterward to celebrate, and is immediately flagged for taunting. Makes no sense. Later on in the game, our receiver we're behind, we need to catch up, need to get a touchdown. and a touchdown would have tied it. Our receiver is in the end zone. Now, they got 3 defenders covering him, which, it's kind of a bad choice for the quarterback to do. But in that sense, normally in that case, when you're throwing that far and into triple coverage, it's either going to result in one of 2 things: a pass interference play, which is going to give you half the distance to the goal line and first down, or you're going to get a touchdown out of the deal, which is going to benefit you either way you go. So our quarterback threw it downfield, and they shoved our receiver out of the way and to the ground and intercepted the ball and did not get called on the pass interference, which is, anybody knows football knows that's pass interference. And, that one there. And then the next time we had the ball back, blatant pass interference right out in the open field. They tackled our receiver who was running to come catch the ball in the open field, just tackled him before he even got to the ball. That's pass interference. Once again, not called. Both things actually are what cost us that game. No, they're not going to investigate. Hey, Jennifer. No, they're not going to investigate because the NFL is the one that's telling the refs not to do this. Because the Chiefs, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce on the Chiefs. And when she's up in there in the game watching him play, they always have a camera on her. And every time he catches a ball, they point the camera at her to see what her reaction is. And millions of her fans that otherwise would not watch football are watching all of the Chiefs games, which causes the TV ratings to be higher, which means they can sell commercial spots for a lot more money than what they normally would. So they said off of this season alone, the NFL has made $360-some million more than what they would have made if she would not have been in the stands for the Chiefs games. And in the Super Bowl, that's compounded exponentially because in the Super Bowl, one 30-second ad spot goes for tens of millions of dollars, if not more. So if the Chiefs didn't make it into the Super Bowl, which they wouldn't have if they'd lost today, then the NFL would not be able to sell those advertising spots for the increased price that they would be able to if she was going to be there watching him play. And so, they had to find a way to make sure that the Chiefs made it into that game because they're stand to lose probably close to $1 billion by her not being there. It doesn't matter, Dreamer. It's about the money. When the NFL stands to lose $1 billion that they could see forecasted to make by the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl, they're going to find a way to make sure they get there. If that means telling the refs, hey, just kind of miss a couple of calls here and there that kind of cost Baltimore the game, or call some penalties on Baltimore that you usually wouldn't. Just make sure they don't win. Yeah, I was not happy about that. I think my neighbors upstairs heard how unhappy I was with it too, because I was saying things that I shouldn't have been saying. In a very loud tone of voice. I gotta take some kratom, y'all. Hi, Hank. Why is this so crooked? No, she's not to blame. I'm not saying she's to blame, but, she is to blame for the way football has gone this year, because everything has become about her and not about the football. That's what I'm saying. A 30-second ad is $7 million for the Super Bowl. I bet now that the Chiefs are going, I bet that's probably about 10 to 12 million, if not more. There we go. Oh. Need to take my second Adderall for today, too. But yeah, so I got some big news this week, y'all. Big, important news. Hold on, let me get this hoodie off. It's hot in here. So Paul has been here pretty much constantly except last Sunday. He left last Sunday, came back last Tuesday. And that for that short little time was the only time he had been gone since the weekend of my kidney stone, which was, what, 3 weekends ago now? So him and I had been spending a lot of time talking about my car that I have, how much I owe on it, how much it's worth, and we were discussing it. And his goal all along has been to try to get me out of this vehicle that I'm in because I can't really use it for Uber, and he wants me to be able to get back on the Uber app. So we've been discussing ways to get me out of this one. I mean, I could use it for Uber, but it's just by this coming March it will age out of the Uber program. So it's practically too old to be used. Plus, I wouldn't make any money because it's a V8 and this thing just guzzles gas. So anything I make would just go to pay for the gas I use that night, and that's it. So I haven't been able to really sign up and get back on the Uber app because of that. And so we sat and talked about it, and he called a friend. Paul knows everybody. He has got contacts everywhere in all kinds of places. So he called a friend here in town that owns a car lot. And he talked to him, found out if there was anything he had that was suitable for what we wanted for the thing. And the guy said, yeah, I've got a couple of them here. We'll work out the paperwork and everything. Took down my information and ran my credit and figured out what they could do for me. And so then Paul and I were talking about it, and he said, well, what can you do about this one? I'm like, I don't know. I've got to go talk to the people I bought it from to find out if there's a cash buyout that I can do on it, to find out if I can just buy myself out of the loan for much cheaper than what I owe, because I still currently owe $7,000 on this Pathfinder that I'm driving, and it's only worth about $4,000 by Kelley Blue Book value. So I'm upside down in this car. So we got to talking, and he said, well, do me a favor real quick before we even think about doing this. He said, go ahead and try to get signed back up on Uber. So I did. I filled out all the stuff. I sent in all the documentation they needed and everything, and sure enough, I got approved. I'm right now approved to be an Uber driver. So I'm back on the platform. I haven't done any driving yet, but I do have a 2015 Kia Sedona minivan that is now mine, kind of, sort of. I've even got the tag and registration here for it already, and it's already insured. Paul paid 6 months of insurance for it, and the car is actually paid off. Paul just paid cash for it. So I'm going to be paying him back over time with it. And we'll probably keep this one for maybe 6 months or so, make some money off of it, and then we'll probably go trade it in for a newer car that can be used for a lot longer. Yeah, the kidney stones are gone. I think I've never had kidney stones before, so I don't know what, but um, I did have some pain last week or during this previous week. I had some pain in kind of the same spot where that one was, where it was stuck, and I kind of thought maybe it was still kind of stuck there. At least part of it had been. I never actually passed that kidney stone. Like, I didn't pass it as a whole stone, so they say they can like break down into like a powder and just come out that way, in your urine, and you'd never know it. So I think that's what happened. But then about a week ago, I was having some pain there in that same spot, and it kind of felt exactly like the same pain. And I was like, man, don't tell me that thing's still in there and just hasn't moved. No, no, Dream. I'm not going to quit my present job. Not at all. Um, in fact, all I've got to do with Uber is just drive like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and maybe sometimes during the school year, maybe sometime Monday and Tuesday, because some of these sororities and fraternities do date parties on like Tuesdays, so on Tuesday nights, so there may be time to make money earlier in the week, but mainly it's just going to be Thursday night, Friday nights, and Saturdays, and that will supplement my current income. However, it's going to supplement it enough that I'm kind of hoping that I just basically double my income, which would be awesome. Because the potential is there to make that kind of money that I'm making with my current job, but only driving 3 nights a week. So there is that potential there. And now this vehicle is actually good for Uber XL, which is, it holds more people, so you get a higher rate for doing Uber XL. So I make even more money than what I was with doing regular Uber X. So so yeah, I am officially back on the Uber app. Let me take a look here. Oh, hold up. It says required actions. Oh, we got to choose a selected vehicle. Confirm. Okay. There it is. What? There's a new update. What? Oh, yes, I agree. I confirm. Oh, I gotta take a photo of myself. Hold on. This is nuts. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wait, I'm not online. I don't want to be online. Go offline. It just took me online when I opened the app up. There you go. See, I am back on Uber. It's not busy in Tuscaloosa tonight. Never is on Sundays. I didn't want to go online. I have, if I can do 130 rides by February 24th, I'm guaranteed $1,020. So what that means is if I do 130 rides and I don't make 1,020, then Uber will give me the rest to make up that difference. If I make more than that 1020, then I just made more than that 1020. But it's just kind of a ride. It's a guarantee to get me started back on the app again. But here in town, driving during the busy times, if I make less than that 1,020 in 130 rides, then I'm doing something completely wrong. So, Hank, stop. Hank, move, buddy. Move. I know you didn't get afternoon treats. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm still got my I'm still using OBS tonight. I'm just not. I don't have all the other stuff set up because I think you missed it, Dreamer, in the beginning. I honestly forgot I was going live tonight, and I had not set up my live on YouTube. I didn't set up, I didn't pre-schedule it or anything, and I didn't have my green screen set up, and I didn't have my good camera all set up, pointing at me, and all my lighting and everything. Because I take that down because it just takes up too much space. I have to take it down during the week and just put it up on Sundays. And I didn't wake up until like noon today, and the game came on at 2 o'clock, and I had stuff I had to do this afternoon, so I didn't even get a chance to set everything up. And then the game ended at 6-ish, 6:30-ish, and I was on Facebook kind of like chatting with people about the game, and yeah, so I didn't get everything set up. And then I looked at the clock, and I was like, oh man, it's like 5 after 8, and I had to go live, so I hurried up and opened up OBS and just flipped it over to this camera here because I still had this camera hooked up, and cleared off my desk the best I could and hit go live. So and then also I will have, as soon as I can start like getting monetized again here, I'll have income from this. I'll have income from my Uber on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and I still intend to start going live and streaming my gaming, um, maybe the other nights of the week, so I can start making some money that way too, because you can make a lot of money on Twitch. You can actually make money faster on Twitch than you can on YouTube, I think. Oh, wait. This one was that color, and I never actually placed any of them, I don't think. Maybe I did. Oh, I don't know what I've done. I've lost track of what I've been doing on this thing. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. I didn't actually place any of these. You know what? I'm going to put this camera up like this, or put this there up above that camera like that. I'm going to get myself some more light here. Turn the power on. And turn that all the way up. There we go. Now I can actually see the drills in my tray. So yeah, so sports-wise, this has been kind of a disappointing year. Alabama had a really good team, and they fought really hard, and they, they overachieved this year. They really did with the players they had and the personnel they had. They really did overachieve, and I credit that a lot to Nick Saban, just being the coach that he is, being that good. He got a lot out of the boys this year, and they made it to the national, and they made it to the semifinal game of the playoffs, and all they had to do was win that to go to the national championship, and they lost to the team that ended up going on and winning the national championship, of course. But nobody expected them to make it that far, and they did. And then on top of that, the Ravens had a spectacular year. It looked like this was finally going to be their year to get another Super Bowl, first being the best team in a decade. And they made it just as far as Alabama did, to the semifinal game before the Super Bowl. So it's been a tough year to be a sports fan for me because both of my teams lost in heartbreaking fashion when there was such high hopes for them. But we got NASCAR coming up in a couple weeks, y'all. Actually, next week is the they used to call it the shootout, the clash, whatever they call it now. I probably won't watch that because it's kind of dumb the way they do it now. I wish they'd take it back to Daytona and run it the way they used to. But now they run it out in the LA Coliseum. They turn the stadium into a racetrack for like one race. When there's plenty of tracks on the East Coast in NASCAR country that would serve that purpose as a short track, and instead they take it out to California in a stadium that was built for track and field in the Olympics, and they do all that work and spend all that money to turn it into a racetrack for one race, and then have to do all the work to take it back to being a regular track and field stadium, which is actually going to play part in the next time that LA gets the Olympics in a couple of years. I think one of the next upcoming Olympics is coming back to LA. I don't know, but NASCAR's coming up, so maybe there's hope for a good season there. I am looking forward to a new driver that's coming in. He's not new to racing by any means. He's new to NASCAR. He raced last year in a couple of events, road course events, and he's coming back to drive full-time this year. And the guy is just a naturally good driver in anything that he sits in, so it's going to be exciting to see what he does. Of course, my boy Chase Elliott is back. Hopefully 100% healthy this year. Last year he broke his ankle, or was it his ankle? Yeah, he broke his leg last year early in the season and had to sit out. Had a skiing accident or snowboarding accident and had to sit out about half the season, so he's coming back. Dreamer, yes and no. Like in this area here where I'm at now, and you're in that transition area between her outfit and her head and the background, yeah, there's a lot of confetti right here. Because I'm kind of working in this area here where the trees are. Right there. So yeah, there's quite a bit in this little area. But then when I get up here, it won't be so bad because I got all that open color blocking there and a lot of color blocking up in here. So I'm really working in the one area where the most confetti is. And really it's not even that unpleasant. It really isn't, because the colors are separated so well that, I wouldn't think to look for this color that I'm working on, this color blue. I wouldn't think to look for it in here or over here or down here. I would think to find it in here where the blues are, So it's not that bad. I've definitely worked on worse. Let's put it that way. Like the Hank Custom worse. The whole painting is confetti, man. It's bad. It's really bad on that Hank Custom when you've got one little 10 by 10 section like this, and it's all part of his, it's just all of it is solid, like the fur. And that thing has 36 colors, I think. And that one little section has at least one of like almost all the colors in the palette for it. It's bad. And that's the whole painting on that Hank Custom. Oh. I would love to get a painting of Arya done the same way, you know? Just try to get a decent picture of her up close like I did with Hank. But oh, I don't know that I want to put in another bunch of work on a, and she's even furrier than Hank is. I don't know that I want to put that much work into another fur ball painting like that. Oop, there we go. I'm hitting the mic again with the pen. I am still not used to having a mic like this. Here, let me move it up. There, and I'll do it like that. That way you can still hear me. And it's kind of above me, so it's not blocking my view down here anymore. But it's still pointed right at me where I need it to be. I hope y'all can still hear me. Did I get it done, and am I going to frame it? No, I'm not done with the Hank Custom yet. I've gotten, what I did was a year or two ago, I guess when Amber was still here, so it's going back, 2021. I sat down, because Hank is like in that picture, the way he's laying. It's like kind of like down in the corner of my video there where you can see, like right down there. I guess. No. Yeah. No, the other way. Down there. Where you can see the little picture of him. Well, what I did was I cut around the edges of his ears and his head and the fur part of it. I cut the cover, kind of following along with that, just leaving a little bit away from the edge of of it, so that I actually complete all of the Hank portion of it, and then that just leaves like the background to do. And so I'm kind of working my way around that part of it right now. I still got to do. I did his one ear over here, like up in the top part, and the higher up ear, and then I'm working my way down to the lower one. And then I've just got the side of his face, the little bit of a side of his face, and then a little bit of the top part of his back. And then I got to do the whole background, which the whole background is a lot easier. There's not a lot of confetti there because it's mostly, he was up against a wall, so there's a lot of big spot of white there where he was up against the wall. And then you can kind of partially see my old Keurig, like on top of the microwave behind him. So that forms like a black part of the background. So yeah, there's not really a whole lot left in that. I say not a whole lot, but that's a lot of confetti still left. In fact, on a second here, I'll go pull it out and show you what I got done so far. What? Gonna have to like switch the mic or switch the camera up a little bit so that you can kind of see that way. There you go. Hey, my chair. Oh, I gotta clean that out, getting some crumbs and stuff in it. I hear you, Hank. Yep. I hear you. There you go. That's what I've got left. So, I've still got I cut it. You can't really see it on here, but I cut it like around here. His ear comes down. Oh, maybe hear me if I flip my mic up better. His ear comes down like here, and then it comes around like this, and comes down there. And that's what I have left of just the Hank part of it. And then back here and up here is just the background. But yes, I am going to frame it when I get it done. It's going to get one of those DIY canvas adhesive or self-adhesive stretchers bars like I do on my other ones. Hank, get out of the closet. Get out of the closet, buddy. Oh yeah, it looks great. I love it. I mean, I love the way it's turning out. It's just a lot of work. Like one 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter section takes like days to do because of all the confetti. But then at the same time, I've got so many things to do now with work and other things that I do, other things that I enjoy doing, that I just don't have as much time during the week to sit down and diamond paint like I used to. Like when I was living alone up in North Dakota and I started diamond painting, that's the only hobby I had. That was the only thing I did besides go to work. I went to work, I'd come home, I'd sit down and I would diamond paint until the wee hours of the morning. I'd go to bed, get up, go to work, sit down and diamond paint till the wee hours of the morning again. I just did that every day. And then on weekends, I would go do like I'd go do lift up in North Dakota on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, or Friday night and Saturday night. I didn't do Thursday nights up there because students up there actually had classes on Fridays, so they didn't start partying until Friday night. And so I was only out working Friday nights and Saturdays, and then Sunday all day I'd sit and watch NASCAR and diamond paint all day, and then I'd do my live on Sunday night. But I just got so many other things that I have to do now. So many other hobbies and things that I enjoy, and I just don't get the DP time anymore. Yeah, I woke up this afternoon about noon. I didn't even hear Paul leave this morning. I knew when he came home because I was still awake when he came home, and that was like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I sat here and fell asleep in my chair shortly after he went to bed because he just came straight in and went straight to bed. But he had a really busy night last night, so. And I told him I've got an alarm that goes off at like 9:15, because he wanted to be up by 11:30. And I know the alarm went off because I remember shutting it off, but I must have gone right back to sleep, and I didn't hear Paul leave. So when I got up, I went in there to tell him, hey, it's like noon. I thought you wanted to get up around 11:30. He was already gone. I need to go back and replace that one after. I found a drill with a little, what do we call them, nibs? There's not a lot of bad drills in this painting. I'm going to tell you that now. I've found very, very few bad drills. I mean, you're always going to have some in every painting. Very seldom will you ever have a painting that you don't have a bad drill in. But this one has had very, very, very few. No, he's not here. He left. Like I said, he must have left this morning. Yeah, he told me last night when he came in. Well, he came in at 5 o'clock this morning. He'd been out driving, and he had a trip to uh, Birmingham to go take somebody to the airport early this morning, and he came home about 5 o'clock in the morning from being out driving all night, and he went straight to bed. But he said, "Hey, I want to. Can you make sure I'm up around 11:30?" He said, "Are you going to be up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I plan on it. I was planning on just staying up all night last night." And I kind of almost did, and then he went to bed like right after he got home. So it was like 5 o'clock this morning. And yeah, so I didn't hear him leave, and I know my alarm went off at 9:15 because I do remember shutting my alarm off. I told him because he's asked when he asked me if I'd get him up by 11:30. I'm like, yeah, I've got an alarm that goes off at 9:15, so so I know for a fact that I'll be up then. And that's when I was planning on actually. My original plan was good if I did fall asleep to get up when my alarm went off. No, he doesn't. He doesn't stay with me all the time. He has been lately because he drives down here. He doesn't do a lot of driving in Birmingham as far as Uber in Birmingham. He likes to come here, especially during the school year, because this is where all the money's at. Tuscaloosa and all the students is where the money is. But it's mainly on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is mainly when the big money is here. Um, Early in the week, because he's full-time driver, he's not, he's not a part-time like I'll be. He makes a good majority of his income doing Uber. So he comes down and stays here, and then he works in town here on, through the week too. So he'll probably be back Tuesday. I mean, he does have another job, but it's not one that you go to every day and go to work and everything like that. It's a outside sales job. And so the most of that is for his is just, he has to have meetings to meet with clients and possible clients to make sales and stuff like that. But it's not a full-time 9 to 5 job. So yeah, he's been staying with me quite a bit this summer, or this fall. And it's quite a bit this past summer too. But during the summer, he actually goes and drives in Birmingham because that's where the money is in the summer because all the students are gone. But since Birmingham is an hour away, and what he used to do back when I met him was he had a buddy of his that had a house that he went to go stay at, but he could no longer stay there anymore. And he didn't have anywhere else to go. So when Amber and I split up and I had the extra room open, he was like, hey, can I come down here and stay? And I'm like, yeah, you already know you're welcome. Just, you know how to get in. Just show up. You ain't got to tell me you're coming. And as much as he has helped me out, I owe... God, I don't think I'll ever be able to repay him everything that he's done for me. Ever. Paul has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. And probably one of the best friends I've ever had. And he really does try to help me out, not just financially and that kind of thing, but he really does try to help me out on a personal basis as far as bettering myself and changing my behaviors and things like that. And that is priceless to find in somebody that wants to help you do that. We butt heads a lot when it comes to that kind of stuff because I am just I'm stubborn as hell. And changing my personal habits and behaviors is one of the hardest things. That's the hardest thing for anybody. Nobody really wants to. Nobody likes having somebody tell them, you don't do this. Like at night, he'll argue with me. And he comes home, he's like, you're going to bed tonight. You're not going to stay up all night. You're not going to sit here in front of the... Pick a time and go to bed at that time. And I'm like, but Paul, I can't do that. If I go in and lay down and I'm not ready to go to sleep, I'm just going to lay there and toss and turn anyway and be awake. So I might as well just be out here doing something while I'm awake. Maybe doing something will make me more tired. And he's like, no, you need to go to bed and lay down and make yourself go to sleep. And I'm like, I can't do that, Paul. And he'll just stay on me. He said, so what time is it going to be? What time are you going to pick? What time are you going to bed? All night. He'll keep doing that. He knows it frustrates me, but... But he really does. He really does mean the best with it, and that's why I don't get on to him about it and really argue with him. But usually 90% of the time he realizes, you know what, Dave is a 50-year-old adult and he can do what he wants to do. I'm not his dad. I'm not his parent, and I'm just trying to help him out. But he also knows that I assure him, and he knows that if I say I can do something, then I can do it. So. I love that sound. I think that is all of that color. If not, I will find it. Yeah. If not, I'll find the ones that I missed when I fill in everything around them. I've been doing pretty good, though, about not really leaving any behind so far. But I'll find out when I get down to the end and I'm on that last color and I'm looking and seeing how many I still got that aren't covered. Which always will be some. I always will be few. But you know what? This painting is probably one of the most fun paintings I've done. I don't know why. It's a diamond painting just like any other. So it's not like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Just as I put it away, I look up and I see one. Don't you hate that? I don't think I have very many of these either. That ought to be enough. Yeah. Y'all are quiet up here tonight. And according to my control panel, there's 8 of you watching. But the chat rate is 0. Yeah, I know, Dreamer. I mean, okay. I'll take the hit on it tonight because I didn't set the live up this afternoon. What I need to start doing is I need to, like, maybe after my live on Sunday, after I get done with it, leave the stuff up and set up until like the next day, like Monday or whatever, and then go ahead and schedule my live for the next week on like Monday, so that way my um, it's up there and people keep seeing it on their feeds and stuff in YouTube when they're there, so that by Sunday it's hit enough eyes that you know people show up on Sundays. Like tonight, like I said, I didn't even go live until like 7, 8 after, something like that. So I was late getting started, and I had not even set it up early. So there was no thing there stating that it was coming up or anything. So I'll take the hit on that tonight. That's my fault. I just lost track of time and day and everything. So my mind was on something completely different. Jennifer's looking at new shower heads on Home Depot website. Yeah. Man, I spent the other day after I got approved for Uber again, and we knew we had the car coming, and I've gone over and seen it already. I've sat in it, started it. There was a slight problem with it. It was overheating a little bit, but they found it's just a sensor, and they have to replace it, but the part won't be until Monday, so we can't pick the car up. We were supposed to pick it up Friday, and that just didn't happen. And then he had said, try to get it done by Saturday, but when I worked yesterday, so I got home around noon after work or 12:30, and Paul was like, "Yeah, we're not picking the car up today." He says he can't get the part till Monday, so Monday we'll be able to go pick the car up, and I'll be able to bring it home. But I've already sat in it. It's nice. It's a really nice. It's got the automatic sliding doors on the both sides and in the back, so I don't even have to get out and open my doors for my riders to get in or nothing. It'll open by itself. This thing's got a massive amount of like cargo space in the back, like behind the seats. It's got third row seating, so I can fit a bunch of kids in the car. The back seat is actually the seats right behind the driver's seat. I think are both bucket seats, like captain's chairs, and then they have the third row in the back behind that. So I spent like almost all of like, was it Friday evening? No, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. I spent going through Amazon looking up all of the stuff I need for like interior lighting and like I don't know if any of y'all saw my car uh from before, like how I had the lights set up in it and everything with like LED lights and the floorboards, and I had a disco ball that would, you know, it had like dancing colors and patterns on the ceiling and everything. And so my car, I could ride around. I'd play some Pitbull or some EDM music at night when the kids were riding, and my car was just, it's like a party inside my car. And so I don't have a lot of those things anymore because they were in the old car. So I can't find my disco ball. It just plugs into a USB, and I don't know exactly where it's at. I haven't seen it in so long because the last time I drove Uber was 2001. No, sorry, 2021. September 21 was when I got deactivated off the platform. So it's been a while, and I've misplaced a lot of things, and I don't know where my disco ball is. So I was looking at some on Amazon. I was like surfing Amazon. I was looking at panel lights that go like you can put them along like your panel lines inside the car, like on your dash that go the panel lines that form like the outlines of your dash and all that. You can get these lights that stick down in there, and they're LED like light strips. And I was looking at those, and I was looking at, of course, the floorboard lights that you can put in, which I'm gonna definitely get some of them, and another disco ball that plugs into USB, and it would be better than the one I had. So I'm thinking about doing all that when I get paid. I have to find the video. Unfortunately, it's got copyrighted music, or I would just use OBS here to go find it and screen share for you, but it has copyrighted music playing because, you know, that's just using the music that I was listening to on Spotify to demonstrate it. What I'll have to do is I actually have the video uploaded, I think, to my YouTube, but I left it private. So I left it either private or unlisted. I can't remember which. But what I'll have to do is just like leave it that way and then just share the link to it on like my Facebook group. And y'all can see what my inside of my car was like and kind of what I'm shooting for this new one. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plains. Oh, sorry. Where are you moving to in Oklahoma, Sherry? Broken Arrow. Okay. I used to work for a trucking company out of Tulsa called Arrow Trucking. They kind of got in some trouble with the feds, I think, and shut down operations since then. But I drove for them out of Tulsa, and most of the time, if they had to get me into Tulsa for something, in order for me to go back home for my home time, I always end up getting a load out of Tulsa that was it was glass, like plate glass, and I would take that plate glass to a place in Nashville, and so I would pick the load up on like Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, and then if I wanted to be home for the weekend, I would just come home. I would drive Thursday evening. I would drive home because it was only from like Tulsa to Memphis was, 7-8 hours, and I could drive from there to Memphis, and then I would get home and I would spend the weekend at home, and then I would take the load on to Nashville on Monday, and I'd get there sometime Monday morning and unload, and then normally I would pick up out of that same factory. They'd take that plate glass and melt it down, and they would turn it into like mason jars and glass jars that would then go on up to Lima, Ohio, to the Campbell's factory to have Prego and Ragu put into them. It's kind of a neat process, and I used to go from Tulsa down to Muskogee and pick up the plate glass. That's actually really cool, Sherry. I like it, and I love it here in Tuscaloosa. And I honestly couldn't see myself moving away from here unless, like, something major happens, and I absolutely have to, because I do like it here. But at the same time, I'm kind of in that boat where I don't really have a lot of family left, um, like close family, since my mom passed away. And because my mom was my grandmother, it was my grandmother that raised me. So all my aunts and uncles were actually all my great aunts and uncles. And so most of them are now passed away, you know. My mom was almost 90 when she passed away. And all of her siblings, except for her sister, had already preceded her. So it was just her and her sister was not in very good physical health either. My mom used to have to go take care of her all the time. And she was younger than my mom. So everybody that I was close to as a kid, other than my two cousins, just aren't there anymore back in Maryland where I came from. So it's like, yeah, I miss being around them, but otherwise I don't really have anybody else there for me. So I have no reason to move back there. And plus, the cost of living in Maryland was absolutely insane. The powers that be in Maryland would probably prefer that everybody is on state assistance and Section 8 than actually being able to provide for themselves. Because the wages up there are just horribly low. When I'll give you an idea of like this. I lived there for 10 years from 2005 to the beginning of 2016. So actually I was there about 11 years. And when I moved away, your typical factory job there was paying about $8 an hour, working in a factory or in a production type of job. And I moved to North Dakota, and it was like two different worlds, like two completely different worlds. The rent in Maryland average, if you weren't on Section 8 and needed to rent an apartment, it was running somewhere in like the $900 range, kind of like it is right here now. I'm paying about $894 a month for this apartment, which I consider still to be on the high end. It's low for this town. It's the lowest I'm going to find in this town without being in a neighborhood where I feel like I've got to stay armed 24/7 type of thing. So, but up in North Dakota, that same production job that I would have had in Maryland, something very similar to that in North Dakota, was paying starting at $14 an hour, and had an excellent insurance package, great benefits, but the rent there for this 2-bedroom that I'm in now is about the same size. The kitchen of this one is a lot bigger than the one I had in North Dakota, but the 2-bedroom that we were in when Amber and Pam moved in is roughly the same size square footage as this one, and it was $575 a month. And here I'm paying $894 a month. So the cost of living up there is ridiculously low, but the wages are so much higher in North Dakota. Yeah, it's tough being a white girl in a border town in Arizona. I get that, Sherry. When I lived in Maryland with my mom was on like a low income plan because she was retired and fixed income, the whole work. So she qualified due to her income to be in a low income apartment. Now, what that means is you're paying a little bit less in rent. It's not Section 8. It's just that you have to fall under a certain amount of income to actually be able to move into this place. And there's a waiting list a mile long to get into this complex. So it's not Section 8, but it's just that you some people do have Section 8 and, the state is paying for their apartment. But in our case, it was just subsidized housing, meaning that there was an organization that actually covered the part of the rent and left it. It was like $475 a month for my mom to live in that apartment. But, if I'd have been working my full-time job like I had now, we wouldn't have qualified to live there. So it was a low-income apartment complex. And we were the only family that was not people of color living in the complex. And I can say, and it's going to sound bad, I think, but it's not. But I don't care what color you are. If you live in an area where you are the minority, you are treated differently. If you're black and you live in a predominantly white, well-to-do area, you're going to be treated differently. If you're white living in a predominant black area, you kind of get treated a little bit differently. It didn't help none that my mom was, she was that little stay off my lawn lady. And the apartment we lived in there was a sidewalk that came up beside the apartment, and then it turned left in front of the apartment and went down between the two buildings, and they had like a little sidewalk coming up to each apartment door. And my mom would sit there and just stare out that window all day long and watch people cut across from one sidewalk across to the other. Instead of walking all the way up and making the turn on the sidewalk, they'd cut across that little patch of grass in front of our apartment. And my mom would go walking out that door, "Get off my grass. I pay for this. It's my lawn." And Mr. Donald, Mr. Donald was the apartment manager. "Mr. Donald don't like y'all cutting across that grass because y'all end up making a path across there." And oh my gosh, she would do that all the time. So needless to say, our house got egged all the time. And it wasn't, it wasn't a picnic. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but it's just like anywhere you are, no matter what color you are, if you live in an area that is primarily and predominantly another color, you're going to experience, I won't say racism as so much as being treated a little differently. But I actually got along with most of my neighbors. Most of them knew me. It's like I had to go out and calm the situation down. Like I would go out there and everybody would speak to me. I was kind of included, hanging out with them and stuff. My mom, they just didn't care for my mom because she was just that crabby old lady that, get off my lawn lady. So I was the one that had to go out and smooth it all down. So I wasn't treated a whole lot differently. Only by the new people that moved in and didn't know us, And until I got to know those people too. But I was an EMT there, and so it was kind of funny. They knew I was an EMT, and I had my EMT certificate, and that I worked for an ambulance company. And they would, anytime somebody out there got hurt, they'd come running to my door, knocking on the door. "Miss Lydia, can Mr. David come out and take a look?" So-and-so did this. I have to run to their house and see what's going on. Hello, phone. Oh. Man, my phone is slow. Yeah, okay. I guess I just had to be, the Facebook chat going off there. Just because I moved away, dreamer. Um, when I lived in Maryland, I didn't have a lot of money to my name. What money I did get, uh, because I was dead set while I was there, because I was living at mom's place and the rent wasn't really a whole lot or anything. Um, I was dead set that that was my opportunity to try to start my own design business, my graphic and website design, and that I was going to get that off the ground. And I had really high hopes for it. And the only thing I didn't have for that company was advertising budget. So I didn't really have a way to advertise except through my Facebook friends and word of mouth type thing. Um, but I used that time to try to get that off the ground and get going, and I didn't really get a job. And then when I joined the fire department, and I mean, I had several different jobs. I was there. I mean, I don't think I didn't work at all. Like I was there for about a year. I worked at a door factory, making $8 an hour, just cutting trim pieces for pre-hung doors, prefab doors. Um, did that every day, just monotonous all day long, doing the same thing. Um, and then I was also once I used the money from that to get my license back, because my license had been suspended because of a ticket I'd gotten when I was a truck driver in Kansas in like 2003, 2004. And so in 2008, when I got my license back, or 2010, I think it was. No, 2008. It was like 2008 I got my license back. And I paid those tickets off, the old tickets off. And then I went back to work driving dump trucks locally up there for, I don't know, 2.5 years, 3 years. And I wasn't making a lot of money doing that at all. There was times where my paycheck for the week was like $150. Wasn't good. And I was using every bit of free time I had, even when I was doing that, to try to work on my web design, graphic design business. After the truck driving thing, I didn't have a job for like 2.5 years, 3 years. I was really, really, really trying to get that business going full time, working on that. But then I joined the fire department, and I went and got my EMT certification. And I worked on a commercial ambulance company. We're just doing like interfacility transports, like taking people from um, the hospital back to the nursing home that they came in from. Like if they had gone to the hospital, to the ER for whatever reason and got taken over to the ER, then we would pick them up from the hospital and take them back to the nursing home. We'd take people to dialysis for the day, or to their chemo treatments, or we'd take people unfortunately out of the hospital to hospice. That was the rough ones. But we didn't do a lot of emergency transportation. Like we didn't get calls to go to people's houses and that kind of thing. And I was only getting paid $11 an hour to do that. It wasn't high. Nothing was a high paying job in Maryland, and the taxes are ridiculously high. Their income tax is ridiculously bad. And but I was in the fire department, and I never really ended up running emergency calls, because if all I had to do was patient care, meaning taking blood pressure, taking a pulse ox, respirations, just monitoring the patient en route to wherever we're going, I could do that fine. But responding to an emergency situation where every second counts, and you got to be on your game. Like there's so much you got to know from the moment you arrive, even from the moment you hop in the ambulance to go to the scene, to the time that patient's dropped off at that hospital. There is just a whole sequence of things that have to be done just right when seconds count. And I didn't have enough self-confidence to be able to do that effectively. My ADHD was so bad that I'd get on scene, and in that pressure situation, I could not think that quickly and accurately. So I ended up never doing the the emergency stuff. And I just did not feel right if somebody's life was in my hands to be able to make the right choices to fix them or to at least maintain their life until we got to a hospital without doing any harm. And so when I moved away and went to North Dakota, I just let my license lapse. I didn't go back and renew it when it needed to be renewed. That's the main reason. That, plus I didn't have any money to actually go take the national registry test so that I could be national registered and transfer over to another state without passing new classes. So when I moved to North Dakota, I couldn't work there as an EMT because that's a state level certification unless you get national registered, which I had to have done within, I think it was 90 days of completing my state certification class. I could have gone and taken my national registry test, which was just the written part of it, and I wouldn't have to do the practical exam because my practical for the state counted as my practical for that one. So if I'd have done it within 90 days, but I never had the extra $50 to go pay for the national registry test, so I just never did it. Well, I want something, me, land for my husband, tree, and my dogs, green grass, 4 seed. Yes. Oklahoma's a great place. Just got to watch out for the tornadoes. Tornadoes and also earthquakes. Oklahoma has earthquakes now, too. But they're more well known for their, I think, like, was it out of all of the worst tornadoes in the last, like, 50 years or something, like, Oklahoma has the biggest majority of them. In fact, that one that actually killed, like, what's it, 4 storm chasers? One of them being the one that was known for how safe he was. That happened in Moore, Oklahoma. The EF5 in Moore, Oklahoma, 2011. I hear you, Sherry. The only tornado I've actually ever seen in person, ever, and it wasn't even a full blown one. It was just it was the funnel starting to come down out of the cloud, but it was so well formed, you knew that's what it was. I mean, it was a tight little tube funnel coming down with a little point on it, sticking down out of the cloud, and that's the only time I've ever actually seen a tornado in person. And it was like well off the side of the highway. Like we were going over the Missouri, I think it's the Missouri River there. I can't remember the name of the town. It was going across I-70. It was in between Oklahoma. It was in between Kansas City and St. Louis. But there's a bridge you go across there where it's a big river, kind of like the Mississippi River. But there's like cliffs on either side of the river. And I just remember looking up and seeing this tornado tail starting to come down out of the cloud. Yeah, yeah, it's the Missouri River. That's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. I've got to get something to drink. I'll be right back. Oh, and y'all, if you have never seen this stuff or gotten it before, it is so good. You don't really want to, like, I find it hard with my false teeth to eat it because it's so hard. But this stuff here is so good. It's like they're freeze-dried Skittles. But it's like trying to chew on rocks. Whew. My voice is, my throat is so dry. And y'all can tell I didn't, like, learn my lesson from having a kidney stone, huh? It's hard to give up, you know? It's like, everybody's like, no, don't drink that. Drink water. I'm tired of water. Water has no flavor. And even adding like Crystal Light packets or the Propel packets that I use when I'm hiking just isn't enough to keep me satisfied, you know? I like the fizzy Mountain Dew flavor. And maybe if Mountain Dew made a caffeine free, so it had the same flavor and stuff. Because, see, Diet Mountain Dew to me is ugh. I can't stand Diet Mountain Dew. But because they take the sugar out, basically, is what they do. They just take out the sugar. And then it's got no sweetness to it, and it's kind of just like, ugh. But if they could make Mountain Dew taste exactly the same as it does right now and take the caffeine out of it, then it would be okay to drink. Because, I mean, there's a lot of sugar in it still. But the caffeine is what dehydrates you and causes you to have the kidney stones. Maybe I ought to write to the Pepsi Corporation and tell them, hey, look, can you, like, make caffeine-free Mountain Dew? For those of us that are trying to, you know, not feel like we're giving birth through our pee hole. Which, if you've never had a kidney stone before, yeah. When I heard people say before that a kidney stone is the closest a man would ever feel to childbirth, they are 100% correct. And the reason why is because when it's moving between, if you've never had one, if you've had one, you know the feeling I'm talking about. Where it's moving between the kidney and the bladder through that little ureter tube there, those pains were exactly what I would imagine labor pains to feel like. And even on the same intensity scale. Like, I have a high tolerance to pain normally. I don't respond that much to pain until it gets like super bad. And when they asked me in the ambulance on the way to the hospital from the urgent care and said, what level would you say your pain is at? And I told him it was a solid 8. If I'm telling you the pain's a solid 8, it's bad. Because it takes me an awful lot to be able to say something as pain as a level 8. I broke my hand, and the pain was like a 3. Like, I mean, I literally broke this bone right here in the back of my hand, the little metacarpal that runs right there. I broke it, and it was like rounded up like this. They had like reset it and everything. And the worst the pain ever got with that was like a 3. I crushed this finger. You can kind of still see the scar there on the top half of the finger right there coming up. And that's from I crushed it in a hydraulic press. Just the press came right down and pressed my finger right down in it. And split it wide open. I didn't even experience pain on that one. Like, I didn't feel like I was experiencing any pain. When it first happened, when the pressure first hit it and it started pushing, I felt it. And after that, there wasn't anything. Like, everybody else was freaking out. Like, my boss, everyone was like freaking out about it. And I'm just like, why are y'all like, don't hurt. I mean, it's bleeding a little bit, but it don't hurt. So, yeah, that kidney stone was just like this dull ache down in my side, like below my rib cage and just above my groin on the left side. And it started out as just like a dull ache. Like, I kind of felt like it was like gas pains, to be honest with you. I thought it was like mild gas pains. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem, you know, I'll pass some gas later and I'll be fine. And it just kept getting progressively more intense and more intense, but it would subside, and then it would come back, and it would ramp up to like a peak intensity, and then it would just like you actually felt like you felt your muscles there tightening or trying to tighten on something. And each time it would come back, go away, and come back, it would come back worse and worse and worse and more frequently. And I was just like, by the time I got to urgent care, I could barely stand up. It was so bad, and I drove myself to urgent care, so it wasn't that bad on the way there until I got there. And I'm standing there signing in, and it's all I could do to even stand up and maintain composure. And when the doctor did the CAT scan, well, once they got me in the ambulance, the EMT or the paramedic actually put the IV in, and then he immediately got this big syringe. It was a big giant thing, like, you know, like that big around. It was a decent sized syringe, and he hooked that up to the IV port, and he just kind of unloaded that right into my arm. And it was not like more. He said it kind of has the same effect of morphine. I'm like, oh, right, cool. He's like, but you won't get the head effects from it. He said it does the pain relief without the impairment and the high. And I'm like, well, damn, you took all the fun out of it. And that sure enough worked really, really well. And they kept coming in like every 2-3 hours, and I was at the hospital putting some more of that in. And so I was in no pain at the hospital. So yeah, when he went into the, and they took me back for the CT scan, and the doctor came back about an hour after he did the scan. The doctor came back in the room there and sat down. And he said, well, yep, you got a kidney stone. He said, you got a 4 millimeter stone stuck about halfway between the kidney and the bladder. And I was like, 4 millimeters? I mean, literally 4 millimeters is only as big as, a little bit smaller than 2 of our drills. Just 2 of our drills, because our drills are 2.5 millimeters, so 2 of them there together would be 5 millimeters. So a millimeter shorter than that causes that much pain. Yeah, Toradol, that's what they put in there, Toradol. Yeah, man, that's some good stuff. But I just couldn't believe that something that small could cause that much pain. Oh my God, that was horrible. I never want to go through that again, but yet I say that, and yet I'm still sitting here drinking Mountain Dew. I haven't had any Monster though. I haven't had any Monster since then. No, I take that back. I have had one. I have cut out the Monsters, and I told Paul the other day, I was like, you know what? I haven't had a Monster since, like, one of them since I've got out of the hospital, or since I had my kidney stone. I said, you know what? I deserve to be able to go have one. So I'm going to go to the store and get one. He said, no, you're not. He said, we said we were giving them up. I said, I told you I was cutting back. He said, no, we're giving them up. I'm like, well, damn, Paul. He said, you don't need to go get it, so you're not going to go get one. I'm like, okay, whatever you said. Because him and I were drinking a lot of them. Like, we'd go to Sam's Club when I got paid. Go to Sam's Club and buy a 24 pack of the 16-ounce Monsters for like $36. And when we didn't have them at the house, Circle K, the gas station, if you remember their rewards program, they had a special going on Monsters. You could buy 3 16-ounce for like $6. And so every day I'd stop and buy 3 of them for the $6, and they had Mountain Dews were 2 for $3.50. And so I'd pick up a couple of Mountain Dews and 3 Monsters every day. And that's pretty much all I drank all day, every day, was Mountain Dew and Monster. So it's probably no wonder I have kidney stones. Or I had them. Had one. But what I didn't ask the doctor was this. Is everybody says that once you've had one, you're more susceptible to them afterwards. Does that mean that actually that means your kidneys are not working the way they should anymore? For the fact that they start forming stones more frequently or something? I don't know. I want to ask the doctor. I was like, is my kidneys actually still functioning properly? Or have I lost kidney function because now there's just a buildup of minerals in my kidneys that have been filtered out by the blood over all these years, that now it's like all these minerals are like blocking up the kidneys or something? I don't know. And the bad part was I used to work with a lot of these urologists, and when I repaired lithotripters, I used to repair those. That was my first job out of college. I had to sit in on treatments all the time. I'd get to go to the... They'd give me a call. Normally what would happen is my pager would go off and it would say 911, which means there's a patient on the table and the machine is down. And they need me to come fix it, so I would go there and they would have to have a patient on the table while I was watching the treatment. And sometimes if it was a 611, it meant that it's not working properly, but we can still kind of use it. We just have to work around it. On those especially, I'd have to sit in on the treatments and watch them blast kidney stones with sound waves, which is really cool. And try to figure out what the problem is while they were using it. And so I learned a lot about kidney stones and stuff, but I never actually meant to ask the important questions like that. Okay, so if I cut out all the things that can cause kidney stones, then that just means that my kidneys are operating fine and there just won't be any more stones. Okay. But what scared me more was the high blood pressure. When I went into the urgent care and they took me back into triage, the girl hooked me up to the machine, the blood pressure machine, and the cuff was like so tight it was cutting off circulation while it was checking my thing, and it wasn't releasing. Like, normally the cuff blows up, and then it slowly releases, because that's how you're checking the blood pressure. You pump it up until you can't hear through the stethoscope anymore, and then you slowly let it come out until you can start hearing it again. And the point where you can't hear the heartbeat on the stethoscope on the lower arm is the top number, and then the point where you can pick it back up again and start hearing it again is the bottom number. And so that thing just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. It was just cutting off circulation, and it was still getting tighter. And she was like, "Yeah, I don't think it's working properly." And she goes, I'll have her take your blood pressure in the room, and we'll do it manually. I was like, okay. And we got in there, and the one girl asked the other one, she goes, "Can you go ahead and take his blood pressure?" She says, "I couldn't get it out here because I think my machine ain't working right." And it was giving me like really weird readings. And the girl sat down and she started doing it by hand and manually. And she looked at her and she goes, "What was your machine telling you?" And the girl says, 229 over 120. She said, "No, the machine was right." That's when they started freaking out, and they're like, so she asked me, she come in the room, she goes, "We're going to send you over to DCH, to the hospital. Do you need us to call you an ambulance?" And I said, "No." I said, "I drove over here. I drove my company. I got to drive back, I drove my vehicle here." And I said, "I need to drive it over to the hospital." And she says, okay, well, we're calling the ambulance. Like I didn't even say anything to her. Like I hadn't just told her I was going to drive myself. She said, okay, well, you just sit there. We're going to call you the ambulance. And I'm like, duh. It was basically, we're asking you because we want to be nice, but we're not going to let you drive to the hospital. The hospital was literally like, drive time was like 5 minutes drive time from the urgent care. So it's like nothing. I thought they were afraid I was going to get in the car and have a stroke. And doctor did tell me, he says, I don't know how in the world you avoided it. He said, but he said, I've seen people stroke out with less blood pressure than that. That kind of scared me. And then when, after I'd been at the hospital like all day, I went to the hospital like noon. I went to urgent care at like noon, and I didn't get out of the hospital until like 8 o'clock that night. 8 or 9, I can't remember which. And so the whole time I was there, they had kept me on the Toradol, and he'd also been putting some stuff in there that would lower my blood pressure. And I just laid there in the bed most of the time, except the time they wheeled the gurney over to the CT scan and wheeled me back, you know. And so I hadn't really gotten out of that bed to get up and go to the bathroom or nothing. And so I was at a complete resting rate at that point. And he came in and took the blood pressure, and even at rest, after he'd giving me medication to bring it down, and I'd been at rest for hours, he's like, your blood pressure's still 170 over 100. He said, so you're going to be on blood pressure meds. Yeah, if I'd had somebody to drive me, it would have been different. But I'm kind of glad they took me in the ambulance in a way. I really am, but my insurance doesn't cover ambulance rides until I met my deductible. I was trying to do it as cheaply as possible. That was my main concern, was how much it was going to cost me. My insurance is not the best policy in the world through my job, and if you have the ability to get insurance through your job, you're not allowed to get a different plan on the marketplace. So at least that's what I've been led to believe anyway. And so it's not like I could just go shopping for my own plan outside of work. I'd have to take my work insurance if it's offered. And I don't like that. And my work insurance is not that great because, like I said, it's you have a $2,500 deductible, but it really, the only benefit it gives you besides pharmacy benefits, like I got all 4 of my meds for like $25. I got hydrocodone and amlodipine and tamsulosin and some ondansetron. I don't know what ondansetron is. It's supposed to be an anti-nausea thing. You just put it under your tongue and dissolve a little tablet under your tongue. It's for nausea. So I got all 4 of those meds for like $25 tops total for all 4 of them. And general office visits to a doctor are only like $30 a piece. So that's really the only benefit it gives you. But once you start having to go to the emergency room, like if I go to the ER, it's $300 out of pocket if I was to left house and go straight to the ER. But the urgent care was only $30. So I was trying to do it as cheaply as I possibly could. So I ended up I haven't gotten a bill from it yet, but I ended up paying $30 at the urgent care before they took me to the hospital. And I paid for the meds, of course, at CVS, but I have not gotten my bill from the hospital yet. Maybe it's out in my mailbox. I just haven't seen it yet, but I'm afraid of what that's going to be because after having a CT scan done, all of the meds they injected into me and everything at the emergency room, the $300 emergency room visit that I've got to pay, the ambulance ride, all the blood work that they did, all the lab work in the labs, I'm sure I'm sure once it's all said and done, I've met my deductible for this year already. Which is good if I've met my deductible already for this year. But then even still, after you've met your deductible, insurance only pays 30% until you've reached your out-of-pocket maximum, which is $5,000. Then once I've reached my out-of-pocket maximum, then it covers everything at 100%. So if that's the case, what's the point of actually getting to your deductible? You know, it kind of... I mean, for something major, like major, I can understand that working out really well. But for like minor things that can happen like this, a kidney stone or something like that, you know, and if I'm the kind of person that I don't... That emergency room visit, or that time in the emergency room there, was the first time I've been to an emergency room at all for anything except to visit other people since 2016. And I hadn't been to a doctor for a visit, a checkup, or anything since 2018. Yeah, 2018. I just don't go to doctors. I don't get sick. I don't get hurt. I don't, very seldom do I ever have the need for a doctor or any kind of medical care. So, an insurance policy like I've got, really, what good is it doing me? Now, the one that I had in North Dakota for that job was probably one of the best insurance policies you can imagine. One, I didn't pay anything out of pocket for my premium out of my check. They didn't take the money out of my check to pay the premium. They paid the premiums. Now, the odd part about that job was you were given the choice. If you take the insurance, you start at $14 an hour, or $14.50, something like that, $14.70. If you take the insurance, you start at like $14.70 an hour. If you don't take the insurance, you start at like $17.50 an hour. So I mean, there was a $3 an hour difference between the people that elected the insurance and people who didn't. But if you elected to take the insurance, you did not pay anything out of your check at all for it. And there was a deductible there, but almost everything you didn't count towards the deductible, and it covered it. Like, office visits at the doctor were like $25. I go to a chiropractor. I think the very first visit to the chiropractor, I paid like 80 something, and then every visit thereafter was like $25. And it was all covered, and none of it really went against my deductible. So, but my deductible wasn't that high. And then everything after the deductible was 100% paid. There was no 30% until you hit an out-of-pocket maximum. Your out-of-pocket maximum was your deductible. I kind of miss that insurance. I probably wouldn't have had that policy if I had to pay for it out of pocket, though, because I can't imagine what the company was paying for it. I know when I left that job and I got the letters for Cobra, that I could extend my Cobra coverage. Like, I think they wanted something like $800 a month or something for it, and I was like, I can't afford that. Hi, Bev. How you doing? I was like, yeah, I can't afford like $800 of coverage, or $800 a month to keep my insurance coverage that I wasn't paying anything for before this. I mean, my current policy, well, yeah, my current policy, just my health insurance, that's not counting my dental, my vision, and the accidental death and dismemberment package that I have separately. I have something that's kind of like Aflac, but it's through Unum, and just the health insurance policy itself, I'm paying $80 per paycheck, and I get, of course, 2 paychecks a month, the 15th and the last day of every month. And for it to not cover as much as it does is kind of ridiculous, and I'm paying that kind of money for an insurance policy that I just seldom ever use. I mean, I've had insurance policies with companies that I've worked for 5 years and never once used it for anything. Well, that's good, Bev. Good to hear. We were just sitting here discussing health insurance and all kinds of other wonderful things. We started out with me ranting about the NFL catering to Taylor Swift by causing teams to lose, and then we moved into what it's like to live in Oklahoma and places I'd lived when I was there, or places I've been when I was there, and moved into the story about my kidney stone and how I found it and how much it hurt, and then we went into insurance, and I'm just kind of on one of those ADHD rambles. And I have taken Adderall today, so. Oh, and I also talked about I got another car. We're still waiting to pick it up. Paul went and bought it for me, and I got to pay him. I'm going to pay him back over time with it. But Paul went and got it for me. He paid cash, paid it off, and it's getting a part put on it that'll be in on Monday, and then they'll be able to send it to us, or I will be able to pick it up tomorrow. And I was approved to get back on Uber, so I'm going to be doing Uber driving again on Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturdays. And Saturdays I don't have to work at my regular job. And then, so I should be able to, essentially double my income from what I have been making on my regular paychecks. I should be able to make that same amount every month as well, just doing Uber 3 nights a week. The fur children are just good. Hank is sleeping over there in my old chair. We still got my old chair that I used before we got these gaming chairs, and it sits over here in the living room, over underneath the Metallica poster on the wall, and he sleeps in that all the time. And then Arya is probably, most likely, if I know Arya, there is a box over there in front of my guitar amp beside the vacuum cleaner, and the one of those top flaps of the box is kind of creating a bridge between the amp and the box, and she's probably hiding down in that little space between there. That's where she's been spending most of her time. So, oops. Uh-oh. Oh, that's what happened. That fell. Okay. All right. There we go. Don't you, none of y'all need to see my dad bod belly sticking out there. But they're good. Arya is no longer in heat. She was only, this time around was really quick. Like normally she's in that like really annoying phase of being in heat for like 5 days or so, and this time she was only in there for like 2.5. So this was a short one. I'm kind of glad because she was driving me nuts for that 2.5 days. But yeah, otherwise they're fine. We're all good here. As good as can be, anyway. Physically. Mentally, I wonder sometimes. Come on now. Look at that. I'm really surprised how many people can't do that. And yeah, I was late starting my live tonight, Bev. So that's why there was no like announcement or anything. Um, we had the big football game today, and my team was in it and lost it. And the game ended at like 6:30 my time. I was supposed to go live at 8, and I totally forgot it was even like my day to go live. And so I never got everything set up. I didn't get my green screen set up. I didn't get my good camera set up and all that. And so um, after the game was over, I was on Facebook and a lot of the football groups I'm in, and we were discussing the game, and I was putting my 2 cents in about how I felt they were robbed of the game by the league and the refs. And I lost track of time. And I just happened to look at the time, and I saw it was 8 o'clock, and then I remembered, oh, that's right, it's Sunday. So it was like 8:05, and so I hurried up and just kind of set this camera up here and opened up my OBS and just started at about like 7 or 8 after. So I was probably about 10 minutes late getting on. And I didn't do the pre-setup where I normally schedule it in advance so that there's something there that says, hey, Dave's going to go live tonight. And I just was so unprepared. When I saw that it was after 8, I sat here for like a minute or half a minute just sitting there going, okay, do I just put up a post? Actually, I was opening up YouTube to go put up a post that I wasn't going to be live. And then I was like, you know what? It ain't going to take me long to set it up like it normally would. I just got to open OBS. It's already the description and everything is already filled out, so I'm just going to do that. And that's what I did. I wish I had, and that's one thing me and Paul were talking about, because he's talking about wanting to like buy a house down here and get it big enough that I can move into it and stay there, you know, year round in that house, and he can come down and stay too. And if we did that, I would probably be able to have a space that I could keep all of my streaming stuff set up all the time. It'd be like my little streaming space. That's my goal. Is I would love to be able to have a place where I have that. If Paul wasn't coming here and staying here all the time like he does, which I don't care. I love that he comes here and hangs out because he helps out a lot, and it's just really nice having company here. But if that wasn't the case, I would use that spare bedroom that he stays in when he comes. I would use that for my permanent streaming space. Like I would have my computer, I'd have another monitor in there or whatever, maybe dual monitors and a desk, and the green screen always set up, my lighting set up the way I want it, just leave it that way all the time. It'd be like a permanent little streaming station. That's what I'd like to eventually have. And I would do like you see all the other streamers have the, you know, neon lights on the wall or the LED lights around the room and all that kind of stuff. I would have all that myself. But I don't have that option, so I end up having to take all of my stuff down, like, after my live is done. I've got that big green screen that's just got to be taken down and folded up and put away back in a bag and disassembled and all that. And this big camera arm and everything on my desk in front of me has got to be moved and out of the way. And so it's a whole process I go through on Sunday to be able to go live on Sunday nights. Oh, I'm telling you, I love my green screen. That is like one of the best investments I ever made. And that and the capture card for my DSLR. Because the camera I've been using for my streaming, like I had last year, the face cam, like I had last week, was this one. This is that's what I've been using as my face cam. So, it's nice being able to have, it's got an HDMI output, and so I can plug that into a capture card, and it turns that HDMI into USB and allows me to use it as a webcam. Well, I'm glad I could help, Sherry. That's awesome. I didn't feel right just going on after 8 o'clock and putting up a thing. That's why I kind of switched over. I was just like, I didn't feel right just doing that because everybody knows I go live on Sunday nights, and I know there's some people that wait for me to. And so it's like, I didn't feel right letting everybody down. I really wasn't when I did it. I was really not in the mood to go live. I was not in the right headspace to do this. Um, I was fuming after that game. It's really bad. How do we as human beings become so invested in something that really does not affect our life one way or the other in any way, shape, or form? Sports does that. I don't get it. I become so emotionally invested in people that I'll never know, meet, or otherwise give two shits about. To be honest with you, I mean, It blows my mind. And it sure as hell didn't help my blood pressure none. I took my blood pressure medication today, but I'm sure it probably was skyrocketed. As soon as I'm done with this live, I get to go back on Facebook and see what all the responses to my posts were, because I was saying some not so nice stuff. And I didn't know that Omegle shut down. I used to have a lot of fun on that site. I was watching some YouTubers last night that their whole thing was they used to go on Omegle and just, mess with people in whatever way, And it was so much fun watching them just interact with like random people that popped up on Omegle for them. And I remembered about that, and then I saw in one of their comments it said R.I.P. Omegle, and I was like, really? Yeah, the owner shut it down. I think it's probably because there was an awful lot of predatory stuff going on there, because even though kids were not supposed to be on there, there were always unsupervised kids on there. And it really was not a safe space for unsupervised kids. Because I know every time I clicked skip, I was always scared to know what was going to pop up on the screen for the next one. Well, I'm glad I'm able to help y'all. I really am. I'm glad it does something for somebody. In a way, it kind of helps me. I mean, it's kind of a therapy session for me in a way, because I can talk about a lot of the stuff that's bothering me and get it off of my mind. And I don't have to pay a therapist, by the hour. So and actually, it's kind of nice having people here to talk to from time to time. I still say I miss what I had before I took that year off. I do miss that, because my chat was always so busy when I came on and went live that, I mean, I don't ever want to get to the point where, because I know there's a lot of the more popular YouTubers and stuff that go live, and some of the people I watch that go live that have several 100,000 viewers. When they go live, their chat is going so fast that I couldn't even keep up with it. And the problem is in order to combat that and make it so that they can still interact with people, the only people that they reply to in the chat when they're talking are the people that are sending super chats. And I don't like that. I don't like being in somebody else's live stream and sitting there in their chat room and talking to them just to never get noticed unless I send them money. I don't like that. And I hope I want to get popular. I would love to have 1 million subs. I would love to have 2 million subs, but I don't ever want to get to the point where I can't address everybody's statements, you know, or address everybody's things they say, or even welcome everybody as they come in, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I know that if I got that many subscribers, that's exactly what would happen. I would have to have a whole moderation team that would do that for me. And most of the time, most of these people's moderation teams don't even do that. They don't welcome all the new people. They don't, you know, whenever somebody comes in and says hi, they don't always answer back. But I don't ever want to get to that point where people feel like they have to pay money to get my attention. But at the same time, I do want to get to that point that people have to pay money to get to my attention, because it means that I'm making a lot of money. It's kind of one of those catch-22 things. And I'm not just talking about the money I'm making off the people that are sending it to me, but if I get that many viewers on a live, YouTube is paying me quite a bit of money. Well, I get that, Bev. I've heard that from just about everybody. But I have not had the same nightly turnout that I was having either pre-Amber or with Amber, you know? Some of that's my fault, because I would love to be able to put out 2 videos a week or whatever during the week, but I don't have the money to buy new things, to keep constantly unboxing things. And everything that I really need to talk about, I can talk about in the couple hours that I'm live on Sunday nights. And then I have another whole week to gather things to have to talk about. So I can't just do a whip and chat all week. And, you know, in the middle of the week, because there's not enough to talk about to really fill a whip and chat. And then doing time lapses takes a lot of time. For like a 20-minute video, to get 20 minutes of footage in a time lapse takes hours upon hours of diamond painting, just sitting there steady diamond painting. And I've got so many things that I do throughout the week, I don't have time to film a time lapse. So I'm at an impasse of what am I supposed to film every week to put out videos, you know? I just don't know. And if I put out more videos through the week, the algorithm will naturally start recommending more and more of my stuff to more and more people in the diamond painting community. And it might get the word out that I do go live every Sunday night to more and more and more people that normally wouldn't see that. I just don't know what to do. Because before I took my break, okay, well, let's see, before Amber came in the picture, we're going back to 2019 when I started the channel, early 2019. I think it was May. Yep, I started my channel on Star Wars Day, May the 4th. On May 4th, 2019, when I started the channel, I had my channel for like a month before I went live the first time. And the first time I went live, it was like this huge turnout of people. I was like, wow, right? I was really surprised. I mean, I knew I had a lot of subscribers right off the bat, because at that point in time, I was the oddity in this community, you know? I was the only guy diamond painter at the time that, you know, I was the only straight male diamond painter at the time. And so I was kind of the oddity, and everybody came to see me because of that. And then they found out, you know, hey, Dave was a lot of fun to hang out with and chat. And especially when the chat was going and it was constantly people talking and whatever. And I could bounce off of them. And before you knew it, 3 hours was gone. My first live, I intended to go 1 hour. I went 3 hours. Lost track of time, went 3 hours. And I didn't even feel like I'd been sitting there that long. And then so I said, well, you know what? I'm only going to go 2 hours next week. And I ended up going 3 hours again. So you know what? My live is going to be 3 hours from now on, 8 to 11. And my chat stayed busy from 8 till 11. In fact, there were people still coming in at like 10:30, 10:45. And now it's just like I came back after a year off. Even when Amber was here, it stayed busy, like constantly going. The chat was going. I was getting 30, 40 people in here at a time. And pretty much everybody, there was a few workers and lurkers, but pretty much everybody was just chatting. And it was so much fun. You bounced everything off of everybody else. We had a constant dialogue going back and forth. And then Amber and I broke up in January of 22. And that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to take a little break for a little bit. I'll be back. I didn't expect to be gone a year. But that just took me that long to get my head on straight and say, you know what, I'm ready to do this again. Because the hardest part for me was it started out as a me thing, but it wasn't a me thing for that long that it actually had just kind of settled in as that. So, because it was shortly after I started going live is when Amber and I started talking. And then she moved in with me not that much longer afterwards. And so it was an us thing for more of the time that I've had the channel than it was a me thing. So trying to take that thing that was an us thing and trying to turn it back into a me thing again and feel right about it and everything took me a while to get used to the fact that that's what's going to happen. And so I jumped back in Christmas last year, or Christmas 2022. And so it was almost a full year off. And then I had been here all since Christmas 22. And now I'm up to here. And it's like, the most I've had in my chat at any given time since then was, since Christmas of 22 is, I think I had 21 in here at one time. But still, even then, when I had 21 in here, there was only like 4 people that were chatting. So it's like I'd have numbers sitting there of people that were watching. It's, max concurrent viewers was 20. But if you look through the chat, all you see is like 4 or 5 different names, and that's it. And then there were long periods of time in between chats. And I love talking to y'all, but trying to carry a conversation by yourself when there's groups of people watching you, that's not easy. That is not easy at all. And I was always one that I let the chat dictate where the conversation went. For your Twitch channel, you chewed through a lot of Lego. Yeah, and that can get expensive. Nothing cheap about Legos anymore. So my husband bought me a Switch so that I can go to a gaming stream once a week long. Okay. Need stream a craft on another day. I go, that's awesome. Well, see, that's what I'm going to do. Now, my stream, once I get everything up and running, I'm still not 100% sure that I'm going to stream straight out of the Xbox. I have the ability to do that. Just plug my camera and microphone into the back of the Xbox. I have the ability to do that. And that way I don't need a capture card or anything like that for the Xbox. And I can stream straight from there through Streamlabs instead of OBS. It goes through Streamlabs first and adds all the overlays and everything, and then it goes out to Twitch. From there, I have that ability with the Xbox. That's one of the built-in abilities that comes shipped with it. But I'm paying $14 something a month for that Streamlabs, which is basically point and click and go. I mean, it's not that hard to use. And I've got OBS, and now I partially know how to use it. I haven't figured out yet. What I need to figure out on OBS is I need to figure out, like, I've got all of my sources set up, like my overlay for, like, the super chats and all of my socials and stuff there that you see on there now. But what I don't have is I've got my overhead cam set there, and I've got my face cam set. Right now it's on a layer down below the overhead cam, so it's not visible. And then I've got my backgrounds for my green screen right behind those. And then below that, I've got my my end screen. So Like at the end of my thing, I should be able to go to like have that put up there, you know? And I should be able to figure out how to do that automatically without having to drag these things into different places and stuff. Like my start screen, like before the game, before my stream starts or before I actually come on camera, I've got that automatically starts counting down ahead of time. And then when I'm switching away from the game and I just want to sit and talk to everybody, I've got this that allows me, like my little webcam, I can like bring this up bigger and put it in the middle. And I shrunk it down myself. No, there should be a box in the middle and then a colored background behind it with all of this stuff here on it. And then should have the chat over in the side so that I can see the chat on the screen there. And then I've got my Be Right Back screen that comes up. If I decide I need to go take a break and go to the bathroom or whatever, I can just pop that up. But I don't know how to do it in OBS to where I just have one click and it just changes to that. And then one click changes it back to this. And one click changes it back to there. I have to drag these layers above and below each other and get them in the right order so that one isn't showing on the screen at the wrong time. The only thing I have is I have one scene, okay? Under my scenes, I have one scene, and then I have all of these things as sources. Like I have my game overlay source that stays on top all the time. That's the super chats and the stuff over there, and that's also the layer that all of my alerts come up on and stuff like that. And I could put chat over there if I wanted to, but I have to go to the website that I get the overlays from and go into the settings of that overlay and say this is what I want to turn on and turn off, that kind of thing. So I have that, and then I have the overhead cam, face cam on the next layer down, media source, which is if I want to use a video for my background on my green screen, is the media source, image, which is the image I would use for my background on my green screen. And then I have the end, start, talk, and be right back stages, and they're all listed there under sources. Okay, then how do I set up? And so then all I got to do is just click it, and then I've got transitions, like you can fade and all that kind of stuff. So if I just click from one scene and then double click the next one to go to the next one or whatever, is that how that works? Is it just like you just click the scene and it goes to the next? And it transitions automatically between the two screens or whatever? That's what I don't know about OBS, and that's why I don't really want to try to run the Xbox through it and have all this, because I want it to be like the first time I go live on Twitch, I want to look just like all the rest of the streamers out there, like I know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, so then, all right, so then if I needed to put up my my Be Right Back screen, I would just click that scene over under scenes and it would automatically just pop it up on screen. I gotcha. Oh, okay, Angelina, that's fine. I don't mind workers and lurkers. I mean, I love y'all just as much. I really do. And I appreciate everybody coming in and just, even if you're just sitting there working, at least, there's a number there, and I'm getting some time that y'all are there, so I'm getting those watch hours, and so I'm glad y'all are here. That makes me happy. Oh, never feel like you don't have much to say. Everybody's input is important and valued, and don't be shy. Yes, Bev, that was very helpful. Thank you. That makes sense now. I need to go back and find that one that beginners one that I watched that one time, and I know the YouTuber's name was a shady lady, I think, or something like that, and she's a streamer slash e-girl slash something or other. I don't know. I lose track of all of these different what qualifies as an e-girl. E-girls are the replacement of for what used to be emos, I guess. I don't know. I'm lost. They're the ones with the pink hair and the bunny ears and stuff like that. Um, yeah, don't be sorry at all, Clarice. But if you ever have anything to say, pop in and say it. Don't be afraid to say something. You're not, nobody's judging. One thing we don't do here, this is a very judgment free zone. But yeah, I need to watch her again because she has got the best beginners thing that I've ever seen. I mean, it went in depth for every little single button on this game or on this software. But there's just so much of it at one time it's all broken into chapters. So it's really easy to find the chapter that's dealing with what you're trying to figure out. You just got to go watch that chapter. But I sat down and watched the whole thing beginning to end. It was like an hour and a half long. And it was just so much to take in at once. I couldn't remember it all. And see, I want to do the same thing for diamond painting. I want to make like that my piece de resistance, and make maybe an updated version of it as things change in the industry. Because even since J. Rob put her book out, and if y'all haven't seen it or don't know about it, Jennifer Roberts put this book out a couple years ago. It's called The Diamond Painting Guide and Logbook. So, DP Addiction Adventures, J. Rob put this out. She wrote it all. She took all the pictures, illustrated it. And I thought about basically, and I spoke with her about it, and she's all for it. Okay, so her and I ran the idea by her before I even told anybody I was going to do it. Was I would like to make a video version of this in one long video that's broken up into chapters on each different subject, and that I would not only just talk about it, but I would demonstrate each thing I talked about, like demonstrate multi-placing techniques, demonstrating how to clean paper off of a sticky if you get paper stuck to it, demonstrating how to frame stuff, demonstrating all of these different things. But that's a lot. That is a lot of filming and a lot of editing. And it's kind of like one of those projects that's going to take a while. But even since she's put that book out a couple of years ago, there's been so many new things introduced into the equation. Like when she put that book out, Tmall was she was established, but not what she is now. She didn't have enhancement suggestions like you do now. Like she can go in now and she has all those, like you can download an enhancement suggestion and enhance it the way that she does. You can buy the all of the different, some of them in kits that are already set up with all of the sparklers you would need to enhance that kit the way they suggest. None of that existed. Firefly trays didn't exist. I mean, pretty much every tray out there was just shaped differently, but they were all pretty much the same standard diamond painting trays. That the first ones to do 3D ones were Archer's Arts. And pretty much everybody just kind of built one similar in a way, but they were all just basically trays with stoppers. And somebody came out with stoppers and lids, and when they started putting lids on them, then things changed. And now we've got what we got with Firefly now, and the innovations they're putting out are just outstanding. Always something new coming out of Firefly. I can't keep up with it, and I can't afford to keep buying new ones to show the newest ones. We got all the retreats now that people go to, and so her book is not outdated, but it's got some updates that need to be put in. So that's what I figured I would do, is record this one big good one and then add to it. Add to it every year and a half, 2 years, whatever. Maybe add in new chapters to it and maybe refilm some new parts or whatever and send it up as a new video every couple years. But it would be an all-encompassing beginner's guide, starting from what is diamond painting to maybe naming off a bunch of the different companies and what their differences are between from one company to the next, and whatever places you can buy them from, like Amazon or AliExpress or Wish or Temu now, and the drawbacks to ordering from different places versus the pros and cons. Basically, somebody who's never knew what diamond painting was and just somebody asked them what it was, or they asked somebody what it is when somebody mentions it, you could go to that video. That's all you'll ever need to know about diamond painting. That's what I really want to do, and just have it broke up into chapters so that you don't have to watch the whole thing to figure out the one thing you're trying to figure out. And I mean, I know there's an awful lot of people that are been doing this for a long time that can learn things from stuff like that makes things easier than what they've been doing it. So yeah, that's my idea, and that's kind of my baby that I've been kind of working. I've got some parts of it filmed already. I just haven't said anything too much about it. They're just kind of saved in a folder. And I started the project in Cyberlink with it already, so I have the saved project with everything that I've edited so far, because I'm going to edit as I go on this one. As I film a part, I'm going to add it in there and put in the transitions and the editing and that kind of thing. And so I edit it as I go each time I get something filmed, and then when I'm done, I'm done. Yes, I could add a license versus non-licensed section, but I have an interesting take on that, okay? I'm a little different than some YouTubers. Some YouTubers will never, ever buy from some companies because that company may have found one piece of stolen artwork on that company's whole site, and they refuse to buy from that company ever. Even if they're not buying that particular one, they refuse to buy anything else from that company. I'm not quite like that, because for me, now this is me in general, okay? I'm not, what's the best way to put it? I'm not into flowery pink and girly things. This is probably one of the most girly diamond paintings I've probably ever done. And I like it. I just like it because I like her artwork. I think it's pretty. But normally I'm not into like the girly things like Hannah Lynn's and most of like Mandy Manzano's stuff. And I like Chuck Pinson. I think his stuff is really, really good. Landscape stuff, down home, reminds you of being a kid, whatever type stuff. Really good landscaping stuff, but so confetti heavy, and just, it's not really my thing. But there's just not a whole lot of guy-centric diamond paintings out there from the major companies that license artwork. Like, there's just not so much of it. So I have to do a lot of my shopping at places like AliExpress and some of these smaller companies that have images that I want. So yeah, I could put a license versus non-licensed section in there, but mine would be different than most of anybody else's because of my take on it. And maybe I could just say that and say, hey, look, it's up to you what you're going to do with it. personally, I look at it like this. Any image that the original artist isn't being paid for is technically stolen artwork, okay? The problem is most of these images that you see on like AliExpress and all that aren't artists that you know who it is. Modern day artists that you know who it is by looking at it. Like I can look at the ones on AliExpress that are Mandy Manzano's, and I can tell you that's a Mandy Manzano. I can look at the ones that are Hannah Lynn and know that that's a Hannah Lynn, or Jasmine Beckett Griffith, you know? You can look at those and know that, okay, this other big company licenses that artist. So I'm not going to buy the images, any of those images from that artist from an AliExpress store, because I'm just not. But if I'm being technical about it, anything I buy from that AliExpress store isn't unlicensed artwork. It's stolen artwork because it was not originally made by those people that are there in China printing it out. But most of that other stuff is just so widely available on the internet that, I mean, if I go to AliExpress and right-click on an image and say search Google for this image, I'm going to find 500 freaking responses back because it's just used everywhere on the internet. So at that point, is it just pretty much public domain at that point? Because the original artist, you might, if you filter through those 500 results, you might be able to find one that mentions the original artist at some point. But who's going to do that much research? And at that point, if the artist was concerned about it, they would be filing, you know, DMCA takedown notices, DCMA takedown notices to have those sites take those down off of every website out there. So, you know, at what point does it become overkill? You know, at what point does licensed versus unlicensed become overkill? Especially if you want variety in your diamond painting of something that other than what DAC and Dreamer Designs and TSA offer. Now, TSA I love, and I am an affiliate for TSA still, so if y'all want to buy a TSA, use my link and use my code. Use them together. Use my link so that I can get credit for the referral, but also use my code, because I'm not sure. It used to be that you had to use both in order for me to get credit for it and make a little kickback from it. But you get a discount if you use my code and use my link as a referral, so that way, you know, use both. And you'll get some percentage off, and I get a little kickback. And that link is down in the description below. But I like TSA because TSA does have, like, John Poppleton, who was I think my favorite DP artist, my favorite artist of any of the DP companies. I love his work. And matter of fact, I love it so much I actually got in touch with John Poppleton. Now, a lot of you may not know this. When Amber and I were together, back when we first moved to Alabama, I was in contact with John Poppleton at that time. And I had also been contacting with Rachel at Treasure Studios Art. And we had it kind of set up. Amber and I were going to make a trip out to Utah, where John Poppleton lives and does his artwork from. And we were going to come out there and meet him. I was going to do kind of an interview with him. He preferred not to be on camera. He's actually a full-time TV cameraman. So he spends a lot of time behind the camera. And he says, he told me, he says, I do better behind the camera than I do in front of it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I can just do maybe an interview while, you know, I'm showing other things or whatever. And we were going to we were going to vlog the trip out and vlog the trip back, you know, just vlog the road trip part of it. And do a little segment while he's there showing him doing his artwork on her. We were going to let Amber be one of the models. And he was going to do a piece on her, and then maybe I would interview him while he's doing that or whatever, and get the footage of that, and then reveal the final image at the end. And then at the same time, that would have been the official release of the diamond painting, because as soon as he finished the image, he was going to send it to Rachel at TSA and have her have it turned into the diamond painting, and we were going to release it with my video. And I was going to get a copy of it. I was going to get an actual diamond painting of it here, so that at the end of the video, when it was all done, I was going to open it up and unbox it, and it would be the picture that he did on Amber. And that would have been the official release of that image on her site. I think that would have been amazing. I have not heard what Sherry is up to these days. Sherry and I talked briefly right after Amber and I broke up, and I have just not kept up with her. I know she's on TikTok, I think. But I just have not been able to keep up with her. Yeah, we were communicating through Facebook Messenger, and she kept trying to tell me text me on my phone, because I don't always check my Facebook Messenger, and I was like, I tried texting her through our phones, and I guess at that point in time, whatever phone carrier I was using did not allow international text messages to Canada, so it would never go through. And so anytime she said, "How come you didn't text me?" and I was like, "I tried, it won't go through." And she was like, "Well, it's funny, I'm texting with so and so down there, and it's working fine." And after that, we just kind of lost touch. I wish she would start coming in my lives and hanging out more. I miss Sherry. I hate to say, a lot of people do not share that sentiment. I know that. Sherry was a very polarizing figure, but I liked her. I thought she was nice. No, very true. YouTube was not a good space for her mentally. And she takes, bless her heart, I love Sherry to death. She invests herself so much into YouTube and the things that are going on, that it's hard for her to compartmentalize. This is YouTube, this is personal life. They're two separate things. And that's what really makes it hard on her, I think. And so when the drama kicks up on YouTube, she just doesn't respond well to it. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just that's because that's just who she is. I mean, it's who she is mentally and emotionally, and it's just that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, YouTube probably was not the best place for her. I would think TikTok is even more petty and brutal than what YouTube was at that point. Because I will say that a lot of YouTube was some petty stuff going on. And she took an awful lot of that to heart. I think YouTube is funny. Like, in a crafting community, now, okay. This is my observation. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But in my life, in general, I've noticed that any place that you have a large group of women hanging out together, there's always going to be some drama. I've noticed that. Okay. And women don't tend to forgive and forget as easily as men do. So that drama sometimes plays out for weeks, months, forever in some cases. So I've seen my share of drama on YouTube. I don't know that I've really been a part of much of it, to be honest. I tried to stay away from most of it. I just tried to be like a silent observer. Because what happens is you got your favorite creator over there, and you watch that person and you hang out in that person's lives, and you are in that person's Facebook group, and you're in that person's Facebook chats and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, that person has a beef with another Facebook person that you watch, because you watch all of them, but you're not in that other person's groups, and you're not chatting with that other person all the time. And sometimes you may not make it to their lives or whatever, you know? And so then these people take up for that YouTuber, and then other people take up for the other one. And then you've got a divided community over those two. Well, then at the same time, not only do you have those two got beef with each other, you got two other ones over here that got beef with each other because of the sides they took with those two. And it just becomes a major battle in the whole diamond painting world. And I've seen it just break up groups of people into factions and everything else that still don't talk to one another and haven't forgiven one another. And it amazes me, because I kind of haven't been involved in any of that, and I've never really jumped in on any one person's side and held their position with them. I've never have done that with hardly anybody, because I don't want to be divided from the whole other half of the community. You know, I feel like there's always some way that somebody can come together and meet in the middle, but I've noticed when it comes to large groups of women, that doesn't happen as easily as it does with men. Because I have a guy group and I get together and two guys have some beef. Those two guys are going to get that beef out of the way, and then they're going to go have a beer together. It's just the way it happens. You know? I think it's an interesting. I learned a lot being a YouTuber in this community that's mostly female centric. Um, remember the first guy YouTuber I ran into at that time was Jeremy, and I haven't seen anything out of Jeremy, and I need to go check his channel out. I haven't heard anything from him. I'm going to say partially that's partly my fault, because I just haven't made the effort to go hang out in his channels like I used to. I used to make the rounds. Like when I first started, I made the rounds. I'd hang out in Wolf Packs on Thursday night. I'd hang out in her live, which she still does. Is it Thursday night? Yeah, I think it's Thursday night. And then Friday night was Mrs. Coffee, which she's now gone over to Twitch. Um, I can't remember what night Jeremy was on. But Jeremy went live one night, or one afternoon, one evening, early evening usually for him. But everybody had their own slot, and I made the rounds to that original OG crew that, went live all the time. And they always seemed to be like a group that stuck together for whatever reason. And then Sherry ended up being a part of that group for a while. it was, you know, I kind of miss that. But after, you know, as more and more people started coming in, I found more and more of them, and they'd start going live, and then I'd start going live, and they'd come to mine, and I'd come to theirs, and I just never really jumped in on any one given side of anybody's arguments. I always just like, I went to this person's over here just as much as I went to that person's over there. And I tried not to speak on the drama because it wasn't my drama. And I just didn't really have a part in it. Why am I, just because I'm friends with that person, doesn't mean that I have to take their side and everything and completely dismiss the other person. And that's not how a community works. Oh, Jeremy was Saturdays, or he is now? Yeah, he was Saturdays. That's right. Because Amber and I would sit and watch Jeremy on Saturday nights, and then we would do ours on Sunday night. Okay, yep, that's right. It's been a while. But I mean, I even remember at times, I remember Mrs. Coffee would come to my lives. Jeremy would be in my live. Sherry would be there. Um, J Rob would come in. Crashly would come in. When Crashly joined, she kind of was a late joiner to the community there at that time. She was kind of like the new girl, but she came in with like a wrecking ball, which that's Crashly to begin with. I mean, she's a wrecking ball, a fun wrecking ball. But she did. She just came into the community and just like, this is my spot. Boom, I'm claiming it. She grew pretty quick. But she was always fun to hang out with, you know, on here. So yeah, she would come to my life. In fact, she is again now my opening act, I call it. She claimed the spot right before mine for her lives on Sunday nights, and she would go live just before me, and then as soon as she was done, I'd pop in and I'd go live. And I think that was a good chunk of where a lot of my viewers came from, because she would always be like, hey, y'all go head over to Dave's now. And I would just, it was almost like a raid on Twitch at that point. But she just recently started going back to the slot right before me, so maybe the things will change a little bit. Maybe what I'll have to do is get my live set up and then go hang out in her live until just before it's time for hers to end. Where'd my knife go? Oh, there it is. Man, have I really been live 3 hours already tonight? Wow. Okay. I guess maybe I should go ahead and get off of here because I still have stuff to do for work tomorrow. I still got some paperwork I got to finish up before I go in the morning. And some of that's going to involve some copying. I got to make photocopies of a blank sheet so that I have multiple copies of that to turn in the morning with different customer info on them. It's all of my end of month skips and cancels. I'm responsible for that. That's what I don't understand about my work, my job. Okay? We've got an administrative team at the office. They answer the phones. They handle pretty much most of, if not all of, the customer service. They're not really supposed to do any scheduling for us pest control people. They have to schedule the termite side of stuff, but they don't have to schedule my stuff. I'm supposed to schedule all my own appointments. But I still don't understand with the company the why it works. The fact that if a customer has to be skipped due to a balance, like if they have a balance on their account, we have to skip them. We can't do their service if they have a balance on the account because we're a pay at time of service company. You're supposed to pay when I come out to the house to do your house. But because the way things used to be run in our office, the old manager was allowing them to wait till they got a statement in the mail and then send it in. Now, most of my customers also are very older people, and they're used to just getting a bill and paying a bill. You know, the bill comes in the mail, I send in my check, and they still do that. But the company wants us to collect at the house when we're there, collect the money. And some of these customers don't pay their payment like they're supposed to. You know, they just don't pay it because they don't have the money or whatever. So if they have a balance in going into the month, they get that balance sheet statement, and they think that's a bill. And a lot of them still don't pay it, and then you end up with someone there that just have a balance, and I can't service their house. So I have to. It's my responsibility to go in at the end of the month, and I've got to write down all of the information for all of those accounts on a sheet that says skip or cancel. And I have to circle skip or cancel and then fill out the customer information and why I'm skipping and canceling these. I'm like, because you told me I can't do these and you guys already know about these because you can see them on your own screen. Why do I got to fill out a sheet for these? And then what happens is a customer will call into the office and tell the ones at the office, hey, I want y'all to skip me this month. So at that point, then the girls in the office, instead of doing whatever it is they got to do on that end, they send it over to me. They send me a text and say, customer so-and-so wants to skip this month, so you need to turn in a skip sheet tomorrow. Well, why can't y'all fill out the skip sheet there since you took the call? Why do you have to forward it to me to fill out the skip sheet to turn in tomorrow when you could have it turned in this afternoon? I don't understand why that works that way. I don't understand why that's in place that way. Or the customer called in and wants to cancel their service. Can you fill out the cancel sheet and turn it in with your paperwork tomorrow? Why? All right, good night, Angelina. Have a good night. I'll see you again next week. I'm getting ready to hop off here too. But yeah, it's those kind of things. I've got to do that. That's my end of month thing, and I've got to do it. The boss texted us yesterday and said, we need all your, or on, was it yesterday or Friday night? He said, I need all of your skips and cancel sheets turned in on Monday. So I've got to go through my list of what I have left and write down my skips and reasons why. And we're only supposed to have, like, as a company, we're only supposed to have 5% as a whole office. The whole office is only supposed to have like 5% of skips every month. The boss wants each of us individually to try to get it down to about 2% of our skips, which out of 100 and some stops is only like 3 skips a month, 4 skips a month. And 4, he would actually kind of look at me and go, what are you doing? Why are you skipping these so many? Well, if they got a balance, there's nothing I can do about it. They won't read. They won't answer me. They won't answer the phones for the girls. They won't get back to us. So, yeah, skip. And he doesn't say anything about those, but the ones that could have been done during the month, there's really no excuse why you didn't get them done. Just you didn't manage your time properly. So I try to avoid having all those. But yeah, all of my skips I have right now actually have a legitimate reasoning why I can't do them. Other than that, everything else is scheduled for the rest of the month. The rest of my month is booked solid. Today through Wednesday. Tomorrow through Wednesday. I was supposed to sit down today and actually start scheduling out Thursday, Friday, and the beginning of next month, but I just didn't do it yet. I've only got to be scheduled 3 days out. I usually wait till the last minute. I'm already scheduled 3 days out. I'm not going to sit down and worry about it today. And then what happens is I only end up being scheduled a day and a half out, and I'm struggling trying to find people in time because now, they don't have enough advance warning and they can't get off work or, yeah. All right. Y'all, I've talked enough tonight. So I've still got stuff to do. So I will catch y'all next Sunday night and try to be better set up for that. And maybe I'll actually have some Uber stories to tell y'all. First time in a long time I get to share Uber stories. So I will see y'all then. Have a great week. And hope to see everybody again next Sunday night, same time, 8 o'clock. So till then, rock on, y'all. Roll Tide.